I started doing masses on the side, and then it just mushroomed. And I don't think we were there 2 weeks before someone started knocking on the door for food. And it was one man, and all I had was a peanut butter jelly sandwich, chips, and a Coke for my lunch. So he got it. The next day he brought a friend, and it just started rolling.
Hello, and welcome to Along the Way Life's Journey. I'm your host, Carl Buccellato. Let's get the next journey started. Our guest today is a priest, founder, and pastor of All Saints Soup Kitchen. Established in 1990 and serving hundreds of local families who are homeless and in need. Currently, approximately 450 families are fed daily, in addition to receiving clothing and other services which are provided. Father Bob, who is a graduate of St. Bernard's College in Indiana, is a very likable guy and finds help from a small army of volunteers who give of their time and resources, following Father Bob's dictate to serve the poor. Many local people, companies, and churches contribute support to this effort. Father Bob, who says he was an Army brat and comes from a long-standing military family, we'll find out more about that, does not seem to need to give orders. People just naturally follow him. He has a long-standing dispute with a local town authority, but he does seem to be getting closer to a conclusion. Please welcome Father Bob.
Good morning.
Good morning. So good to have you on this podcast.
Thank you.
You know, this podcast was established primarily for people to meet other people who have an inspiring story and a motivational story and how they could help change their lives. And
Wonderful.
Certainly you are an inspiring individual.
Well, thank you for having me.
The work that you do here since 1990, it's
31 years. Yeah.
31 years now. Wow. That's a long time. And you haven't aged a bit.
Those showing you before's pictures.
But you do have quite a story, Father Bob, and you have an interesting following of people. And I know that we're going to talk a little bit about some of the backstories of it. But you know, I know that you were originally intended to do some of this work when you were part of the diocesan team, right. And you didn't quite get the support that you were looking for. But that didn't stop you. You went out and you kept doing it. And tell us about how that came about. And I know your mother was very instrumental in that as well.
Thank you, Carl. Well, I was always, when I was a seminarian and a deacon, I was always put in places to help with St. Vincent de Paul, which is something as an outreach before. I was always in charge of the poor programs at different parishes. So it just was something I was really interested in. I was really happy to do it. And then when I moved here to Fort Lauderdale, I was resigned not to do anything, just to maybe do mass. And I was working at Kaiser University. I taught psychology and did some counseling for the students. And then I started doing masses on the side, and then it just mushroomed. And I don't think we were there 2 weeks before someone started knocking on the door for food. And it was one man, and all I had was a peanut butter jelly sandwich, chips, and a Coke for my lunch. So he got it. The next day he brought a friend, and it just started rolling like that. So that's where it came in. And then my mother, who was she was one of those mothers that you would have her at school, elementary and high school. She was always showing up, you know.
Yeah. And
she was always hands-on. We talked all the time on the phone in the seminary and the monastery. She always supported me. She said, if you don't want to be a priest, just be happy. That's all I want for you. But we were great friends. And then when she came to the parish the first time, she said, I have visited you in cathedrals. I have visited you in the monastery, but this is the best. This is God. So I said, well, that's good. You got the stamp from Mom. It has to be good.
The damn primata from Mama.
The best one.
Well, that's wonderful. And then I understand you were having difficulty in the facilities, and she actually came forward and bought the building, didn't she?
Yes. My mom put up a lot of money over the years, not just once, but even after her departure to heaven, she kept on giving. She really loved what we were doing. She visited the old building. The old building was down the street 1 block. And because of difficulties with the city and lawyers and all that, we had to shrink our services or move to another property, to the church property. But that's where we originally started, was in the back room of the church. So it just made sense. We ended back there where we started from.
Just for a sense of where you're talking about, this facility is in the Oakland area of Fort Lauderdale. And when people think of Fort Lauderdale, they see the videos with boats and yachts and all the wealth. And where you're talking about is an industrial area, and it's very poor people and lots of people living on the street who don't have anything
Exactly.
at all.
Nothing. And it is the city of Oakland Park, which is right next door to Fort Lauderdale. I always joke that we're going to pick up the building and move to Fort Lauderdale, because the mayor of Fort Lauderdale is very kind to the homeless. He's very open to what we do. And actually, he's our lawyer. So that even helps.
Good man to have.
Yeah, except we're like 3 blocks away from Fort Lauderdale. So it's a big move.
Maybe he can gerrymander it in.
Yeah,
they're doing that these days.
Annex us in. That'd be great. Yeah, but we're doing fine. I always thought, people always ask, are you worried about this issue with the city finding you 125 a day? I don't think about it unless someone brings it up, because I know, I have to know, part of the occupational hazard, I have to know somebody else is in charge.
That's right.
And this is
If you don't believe that, you're wearing that collar the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I should wear a tie then. Yeah, it's just a matter of giving it up and letting him take care of it. And he is. It's in his time, and he's going to make it work.
Yeah, that's what's always amazed me about you. The first time I met you, I was in the doctor's office that I use, and you came in and you were chatting with the doctor, and he introduced us. And I got this sense of calm from you, happiness and calm at the same time, that no matter what's going on, your feathers are never going to be ruffled. There's going to be an answer somewhere down the road, and God's going to provide. And you're the living example of that. I mean, 450 families a day.
I don't know if that's true, but yeah, I think it's all up to him. And I think that's for everybody's life. I think if everyone just got in touch with that, life would be a lot simpler.
Right. Right. So you came from Indiana, where you got your education.
Masters? Yes, I went to 2 monasteries. The undergrad was a Benedictine monastery, and the postgrad was a monastery. So I graduated, and then I had visited Florida with a friend of mine who was becoming a priest in Orlando Diocese, and I visited all through Florida, staying in all the churches for free and going to the beach.
Of course.
So I was going, Florida, Oklahoma. Oh my gosh, there's no choice here.
One has sand and the other has tornadoes,
Yeah, I was thinking all that, but I was also thinking about the cultural differences. Oklahoma is pretty much, they're such good people, but they're kind of like the mainstay one type of culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here in Florida, we have everybody. It is a mixture of everyone, and we all get along.
That's right.
More or less.
Yes, we do. I had the occasion to say this yesterday on another show that I was shooting, but it's so true, and I believe it to be true. You just said we have many different people and we all get along. And there are so many people in this country today that are trying to divide us for many different reasons. Right. And this race issue comes up all the time. And I keep reminding people, we only have one race on this planet. It's the human race.
Human race.
And when you cut us, we bleed red blood. We're all the same. I never heard of a soldier in a foxhole that said, "Oh no, you can't give me that blood. It didn't come from my white people." I never heard of such a thing. That's nonsense.
Craziness. Yeah, it is nonsense. It is.
But you're living it out every day. You get out there and you get it done. I know I have a lot of help.
And you're one of them.
Well,
lots of people out there pushing the wind and pushing my wings and getting me to fly. I mean, it takes a lot to do that, and I'm very grateful.
And I love watching your videos that you post on Facebook every day. People in the kitchen who come from, different walks of life, some very successful people who've had the luxuries of life, and yet they donate their time. They go in there and they cook and they clean and they wash up. And, I love watching it because it's an inspiration for all of us to know that, we all have to do our share. And, none of us are immune to giving a little bit of support and help to other people.
Right.
So I know you recently were on a local television show called Help Me Howard that's designed to support people who are having some difficulties with authorities or local agencies and so forth. And they have a record of breaking through some of the red tape. And I know your red tape, you just said a moment ago, they were fining you $125. That's a day, isn't it?
That's a
$125 a
day
day.
since 2014.
Wow. That's a ton of money. Ton of money.
Yes. They're not getting anything. They're not getting a penny.
So tell us what happened with Help Me Howard.
Help Me Howard reached out to us because Patrick Frazier, I didn't know, was on our Facebook. If you try to get a friend me, I'll friend anybody. I don't know who's on there, but we friended him years ago, and he watched us. And so he shouted out to us and sent a cameraman over because he heard about the finding. So they did a whole expose in the soup kitchen, showed some people eating and the volunteers. And they asked Howard, excuse me, something that, is this legal? And he says, no, the state legislature passed laws protecting religious entities, and so does the federal government. So they know they don't have a leg to stand on.
Right. It's
But I
harassment.
think it's harassment, and I think they're used to bullying people out of business.
Yeah.
You know, if I lure you out of business, because when you get lawyers, as I did learn this important lesson, you're paying for representation, not for results.
That's right. That's right.
We had no results from this last group before. So.
Right. And big agencies and government agencies could paper you with problems. You know, they give you all these complaints and these charges, and you have to pay a fortune for attorneys to develop answers to these things. And they know that. And that's what makes most people give in, and they say, okay, I surrender. But
that's
you
right.
know, when you have a big treasure chest upstairs behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we told them from first day, and even before that, we're going to keep on doing what we need to do. When we've tried to compromise, we're not cemented in our ideas. I, at one point before this fine, was asking them, show us a warehouse out of anybody's view. We'll buy it and we'll get out of your hair. No, they wanted it. That wasn't an alternative for them. I changed the address from the street address to Powerline address, as if to say we're not in the neighborhood. I changed the hours of operation. I changed the entrance. I changed all kinds of things for the city. And then at one point I just said, you know, you're just unreasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
You just want to kill us. You don't want to help us. You want to kill us. That's all it is.
Yeah. And did you ever find out what the motivation was, why they would take such actions?
We have a
What are the real
suspicion.
charges against you that they're saying?
Well, we were in the older building. It was called a parish house, and that was legally acceptable to the city of Oakland Park. Actually, I was a chaplain for their police department. I prayed at their meetings. I was friends with them. Then the commission changed, and it's development thing that's going on.
Yeah.
Oakland Park is spending $149 million on Dixie Highway to redevelop, and they want this Powerline corridor redeveloped. We don't fit into that plan.
Yeah. You're an inconvenience because they want to repurpose that land.
Yes.
And it seems like there's a problem like that all around that Broward County area. I just heard of some other situation recently on the news where they took $40 million from the COVID fund to put into the construction of a high-rise luxury hotel at the port. And
Wow.
that's they got slapped on the wrist pretty good for that too. So
Good.
you know, those are the kind of things that go on in our governments, folks, that we have to stand up and be counted for, to make sure that people like this who say, I'm only feeding the hungry, and they say, well, we'll take you to jail. And he said, okay, put the cuffs on because I'm not going to stop. I'm going to feed these people.
Yeah.
And I give you every credit for that. I really
Well, they
do.
tried to go to jail for a while. They just won't comply.
They don't dare show the photographs of you being taken to jail. You know, they're
I don't think I would like the food, and they don't serve Merlot there. So I think I'd be suffering a little bit. But
well, we could smuggle it in a goodie bag. You know? Okay, so now I know you came from a long-standing military family. Tell us a little bit about your background. Well, first of all, before we do that, I want to just remind the folks that all of Father Bob's information will be in the story notes, where you can reach him, where you can make a donation, where the website is. All those things will be in the story notes, so you don't have to worry about it. And when the show is over, I know you're going to want to contact them. You're going to want to outreach and give them support in any way that you see fit, whether it's financial or volunteer time or arrange other supplies of food, of supplies that he needs. Everything is necessary and everything works. So
Right.
let's get off that for a moment. Tell us about you.
Well, I grew up, I was born in Oklahoma in a little ranching community called outside of Tahlequah, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I was around horses and cows since I was born. And I rode a horse when I was 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have a big picture of him. His name's Tuffy, and my dog's name's Tuffy. So, but we grew up then, and my father died when I was 5. But he had already planned for our future. He had put funds away, paid everything off, and he made it available for us to go to school and everything and have something later on. And then my mother waited 3 years. She really was in mourning for 3 years. And she married a man who was close to our family. And he was military, but my family were military too. So kind of all fit together because I had uncles and in World War II and the Korean War and Vietnam. I've had relatives in every exchange since the Civil War. My grandmother used to pull out these little clippings of somebody in the cavalry from the Yankees. From the South. Don't hate me from the South. Okay, we're a little on the Yankees. But so I grew up. Then after I was 8 years old, we moved to the military base, and from then I was in the military base until I graduated. And whenever there was an exchange, like Vietnam came up, my stepfather went, and we went back to our home in Oklahoma. So I had still that place to run to, and I think that really colored. I mean, those of you who are military, such a deep respect for our country.
Yeah.
And for the people who serve, because as a kid, I used to ride with my little friends on their bicycles to watch the cannon shoot at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the whole base would lock down, and everybody would get out and salute. And they'd shoot the cannon and change the flag, and we were just like, it was so beautiful. I mean, the cars would stop on the street. People got out of their cars to salute. So I grew up with a real respect for that. And I remember on the phone when I was a kid, because when you're a teenager, you get a little mouthy. And I had a colonel occasionally. So I had a colonel. A colonel called our house for my stepfather, and I said, "Yeah." And he says, "You're speaking to an older man who's a colonel." You say, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Oh, Jesus." My stepfather came down, and he politely apologized and then gave me a lecture. And I went, wow, I got a lesson on respect for people in their rank and people, just general respect for people. And I think that was a good thing.
I think that's a great thing. I think that's missing in America today. People seem to have no respect for authority or respect for family. They take these kids and they put them onto these little gaming things, and they abandon them in terms of their education for ethics and values. Right. Sad, very sad.
And I knew that from the military that we traveled, and I've been around the world, and there is no place like the United States. There is just no place like it.
Right.
And I think everyone should go out of the country so they can come back and kiss the flag and say, Thank you, Jesus, I have this country.
Absolutely. When I hear people downgrade the United States and talk about how bad it is, it's clear to me they've never seen what bad really is. They've never been in a third world country. They've never seen people straining mud out of dirt water from the street in order to drink it. They don't know what it is. They just
we have so much here. Yeah. And that's why in the homeless, working with the poor, they've lost hope. They've lost respect for themselves and others, sometimes for their country. So before we eat every day, the national anthem comes on the screens and we all stand. And after that, there's a little prayer that's automated, that's on the screens as well. But first is the national anthem. So that, and one guy had asked me, why do you do this every day? He said, we're giving thanks for the place that our parents gave us the opportunity to go to school, to have every opportunity known to humankind, where we are above everyone else in the world in that respect. We have so many gifts here. So that's why we do it every single day. The national anthem comes on.
That's amazing. I admire that.
Must be our military background.
Well, I admire that because I believe people who are not ashamed to stand for the things they believe in have a tendency to find two things. Some people snicker and they go, ah, ha, 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 because they have no foundation in themselves. Others say, that's what I want, and they follow. And that's an example to lead, to give. When you give thanks to our Lord and you give thanks for this country. I think that's very important.
God and country.
That's
God
right.
and country.
God and country. So these people that come to support you, I've had a good occasion to celebrate with some of them occasionally, and they work hard when they're there with you, but they party hard. I don't mean to say they party, in a regular way, but they truly enjoy each other's company. They have fun, and they're willing to be part of a family team to get the job done.
They love life.
They do. And how do they come to you? Do other people recommend them, or do they just hear about it?
I think it comes in many different ways. I think I've met them in places. Even when this thing came with Help Me Howard, I have all these volunteers wanting to help. Lots of good things happening now. But also, I think when someone hears their friend is working at the soup kitchen, they go, oh, I didn't know it was there or whatever. So now they want to. So people get involved in another way they want to. But I've had people there 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're the parishioners. 20 years working in the soup kitchen. I mean, they've got to have some points. Something with St. Peter, I think.
I know. When they get up to the gate, he's got to say, okay, through.
The fast lane. You get the fast lane. We have some great people that have been there for many years, and I have a go-to group. But I know, I don't ever do this, but I know if I called one of them and said, listen, things are really bad, the water broke or the air conditioner's dead, they would fix it in a minute. I never have to worry, not that I would, not going to. Yeah. That's off my list.
Right.
Because when I worry, then faith leaves. So we're going to leave the worrying to somebody else.
Right. That's so true. You're an amazing guy, Bob. You really are. And you live what you believe, and people see it and they follow it. I think that
I just don't have anything else to do.
Except feed 450 families a day.
I love this. It's not a hobby. It's just it's an exciting adventure. I mean, the people I meet, and then to have them come back later and say, "I'm on my feet." That's the best success anyone can hope for.
I was just going to ask that question. Do you have people go through the process and then they get on their feet and they're self-sufficient and they come say it back to thank you or participate and support and things like that?
I have a long list of people who still contact me periodically and say, remember this, a picture of them or whatever. And a lady just not too long ago, and the Bradshaws were there. She was eating our soup kitchen quietly, living in her car. Then she got her job, got her place to live, married, and her husband bought a truck full of food and had it dropped off.
Wow.
That was her thank you.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, they're always grateful. That's one always is really nice to see when they're just really grateful.
That's wonderful, because sometimes we hear the one side of the story, we don't hear the gratitude on the other side. That's really wonderful.
Right.
It really is. So I want to get back to your military family, because I know somewhere in the ranks of your military family, there's a man named Patton. Is that true?
Well, there is, but
you're not sure it's the same one.
it's still vanity. So like my cousins they're a Patton family because my mom's name is Patton.
Right.
There's a lot, I guess, that pushes them to do that. And that's fine. I mean, that's great, but I never met him. He was long gone when I was a kid.
Sure.
So, so no. And relating to someone, having it, what does it do? I always say, what does it do for me? He didn't give me anything. But in a sense, that's in the whole family. And I think it's in our country. There's a lot of heroes out there. I think if you put a uniform on and you serve this country, you're a hero.
Absolutely.
Because you have to leave your family, you have to leave your home, and you have to be in danger at some point.
Totally agree. You have to give up your life for your country. And that's,
exactly. It's like going to the priesthood. I mean, you leave your home. What did Jesus say? Come follow me, leave your people behind. Yeah.
That's right.
You have to.
That's what Christ said, drop your plow and follow me,
That's it.
Be fishers of men. He also said, He also said, whatever you do for the least of your brothers, so you do unto me.
Yes.
And that's the living example of what you're doing down there every day. all these people are doing for the least of their brothers. They're recognizing that someone is in need and they're working for it. And they're having fun at the same time, I'm sure.
They are. They're enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's fun to give people things. It really is.
Yeah, I know.
I get to give it. I get to give it away every day.
I know. I like that. I like to give.
I do too.
I wrote this book over here that you see over my, I guess on the television there, it shows on my right shoulder, but it's actually on my left shoulder. And you've read the book. I gave you the
I've
book.
read the book. Yes.
And one of the things that this podcast was supposed to do is promote the book. And I said to them, well, I'll give you 2 minutes to talk about the book. The rest of the time, I want to talk to people about real issues in their lives and how they motivate and inspire other people. So I've just done my 2 minutes of the book, but I will say that I will say this in terms of giving. Every penny that comes from that book goes to charity. Not a penny of it stays with me. And I think that's, when God gives you something, when God gives you something, you're supposed to be generous. And He gave me that book after 50 years, to finally write that thing. And it's touched some people's lives. And it really gratifies me that it has impact. And
You're
I'm
doing
sure.
a great thing.
Thank you. And I'm sure you have that same recognition that when you do something and you don't need the pat on the back, you don't need the accolades and things like that. But when you see something that you're working at achieve an accomplishment in another human body, another human person, you have to say to yourself, "Thanks, Lord. Thanks for giving me that. For letting me see it.
Wonderful.
Really,
You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
And shout out to your wife because she's doing a great thing.
Yes, she's a remarkable woman.
Artwork is fantastic. I have to I go over some of her art because I got a couple pieces here, but that's another story. We're going to have that art show thing in June, so we want her to get involved.
Yes, she's a very talented artist.
Incredible.
She's a multimedia artist. She does not only is she excellent watercolorist, and she's won national awards for it.
Wow.
She makes her own jewelry, designs her own jewelry, and the jewelry is called "The Stones Will Cry Out" because they're message jewelry, where they pick a scripture. When people say, "What is that? That's strange," and you can tell them the story of the scripture and what it means to you. So that's
a good idea.
And she created all of that.
My favorite one is Jesus holding the lamb, and that's the one I have here.
Yes,
right here at my altar. Yeah.
That is, without that,
behind this. It's behind the statue of Mary. It's right there.
It's one of the masterpieces she's done, and it's gone global. It's been all over the world. And as a matter of fact, it was used as the centerpiece in Billy Graham's Discover magazine. So
wow,
it's quite a piece. Anyway, she will be joining us on the show soon. She's going to be joining me from time to time, co-hosting the show, and we'll be talking about different programs and things that are happening. So we're coming to a close of the time that we have available to us. Anything you'd like to tell people before we close out? Because it's your stage right now. What do you want to say?
All right. Well, Carl's one of our angels, just to let you know. He's not going to tell you. So he's one of the people supporting us and one of those people that were partying and enjoying life too. But I want to thank all of them because, nothing in life you do alone. And it doesn't matter if you're a priest that's living alone. I have never felt alone. And I know I'm not with God and with the people with me, So I'm very grateful to you and all the people out there that support this because we really need you, us together, to love our neighbor as God loves them, actually. So that's it.
You're a wonderful guy. I really admire you. I really do admire you.
Likes attract likes.
Thank you very much. So, folks, I have to close up now. I'm going to say thanks to Father Bob. And as I say, every show, my mandate to you, God's mandate was love God, Father in heaven above all things, and love your neighbor as yourself. My mandate is a little bit different, a little bit more than that, a little complimentary to that. And that is, tell someone you love them today. Thanks, folks. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning into the show. I hope that it resonated with you. It certainly did with me. And I hope it encouraged you to realize the true power of your story. As a reminder, new episodes will be released Wednesday mornings on your favorite podcast apps and also on YouTube as well. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn your notification button on to ensure that you receive updates on new episode releases. I'm grateful for your reviews and your support. The love is certainly felt. Keep it coming. You can reach out to connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, or stop by my website, toeverypageofturning.com. All links are clickable in the show notes for quick access. Do you think that you or someone you know may be our most inspiring guest yet? Let's hope so. Click on our contact page and get in touch on my website and share your story. I look forward to reading each one personally. My best-selling book, To Every Page of Turning, which was published by Mascot Books, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, and many more popular book retailers. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Till next time, remember that every day is a new opportunity to write your new page in your incredible journey. And it is incredible. You're the only one who has it.